Welcome to part 2 of the tutorial from RevitPocket.com on levels and grids. If you watched the first tutorial, I went through how to set up levels in Revit. The second part is going to be actually quicker, and what I'm going to do is to show you how you can quickly set up grids in plan view for your project. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start off with the same project that I used in the first video. I'm going to actually click on the north elevation just to show you what I've cleaned up in case you want to follow along for the various other videos that I will be providing on my website. So what I did was I cleaned up the level names, level 1, level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, all the way up to the roof. I maintain a 10-foot offsets from level to level. I just wanted to show you what I did. Rather than have me clean that up in the video tutorial, I did that after the fact to save some time. But now what we're going to focus on is creating the grids in plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to level 1, and I have a satellite image of the site that I started to use. What I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to select that site, right click on it, and I'm just going to hide it in view. I don't really need to see it right now. What I'm really focusing on is the property lines that are around the site. So the first thing, pretty simple. I'm going to go right to the architecture tab, and I'm going to the datum toolbar, and right there I'm going to use the grid, and I'm going to drop my initial point, which is going to be the end point in this particular case of the grid that I'm laying out, and I'm going to move that top here. And one of the things I like to do is to confirm, in this particular case, I want my column grids to be perpendicular with the property line here. So I'm actually going to use the Annotate Angular tab button, and I'm going to click these two references to make sure that it's 90 degrees. I'm also going to actually click on the column grid itself and click in the dimensions here and confirm that it's 90 degrees, because sometimes you can actually have a value of, let's say, 89.888, and depending on the tolerances that you set your dimensions to, it will actually say 90 degrees, but the truth is it's going to be off slightly in some cases, not all of them. But in this particular case, it happens to be 90. I've confirmed that, so I'm going to delete that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom out. I'm happy where this column line is. It's number 1. And what I want to do is I want to replicate some column lines going in this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up on the technique that I used in the first video. I'm going to actually select my column grid. I'm going to use the array. I'm going to put in, let's say, 6 column lines, and I'm going to keep my array grouped and associative. Move to the second is fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here where my auto snap is on the intersection, and I'm going to move that along perpendicular to that property line. And I'm going to use a spacing of, let me try 20 feet and see what we get. And I'm going to hit enter. Now 20 feet's a lot. And actually, you know what? I like 20 feet, but you can see here that at a 20-foot interval from where I placed the first column line, you can see that it goes past my property. So what I'm going to use is I'm actually going to go down here. I'm still selected in the array group, and you can see the number that I originally entered, which was 6. I'm going to change that to 5. And when I change that to 5, what that did was it removed that extra column line. If you watched the first tutorial, I've gone into the explanation of this, so I won't really follow through on this video, so I suggest you watch that as well. I like that spacing. I'm not going to get too crazy about anything right now, but I'm going to leave it as it is. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the next series of column grids. So I'm going to go back to my architecture tab, and I'm going to hit grid, and then I'm going to go in the opposite direction here, and I'll place that. And I'm just kind of being loose about this. I'm not worried about the dimension values from the property line. I just want to show you a process. I'm sure that you're quite proficient in Revit and you know what to do, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to also check the angular position like I did before to make sure that I'm 90 degrees. It's 90, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Oh, actually, before I do that, I'm going to change the value here from 7. The reason it says 7 is because it was the next series after the last column that was established here that happened to be 6. So I'm going to change this to A, because that's what I want to do in the opposite direction. I'm going to select that column grid. I'm going to do array. And I'm going to do, let's see, maybe I will do 4. and I'm gonna do 4 at 16-foot intervals, and I'm gonna hit enter. It looks like I could get an extra in there, so I'm gonna actually see if I can change this to 5. Yeah, so 5 is good. So now, if you look quickly, I have a column grid. It's set up in my plan. 1 through 6, and then A through E. So this is just a quick way that you can start to lay out a column system for your project while you're, let's say, in your preliminary pre-design phase. So this is one of the things I love about Revit. It's that it's trying to help you, and if you actually think about the logic and the workflow that you're using, you can speed up your time that it would take for you to set up a project. So hopefully this is helpful for you. Um, if it is, please leave some comments by all means. If you have any questions, just field it to me to revitpocket.com, or you can just write below in the comments section. But definitely come back. I'm going to actually show you a little quick pro tip of how you can take your existing column grid and start to actually place structural columns in your model. I find this to be really easy when you're trying to do something really fast. So please, by all means, definitely come back. And thank you for watching my tutorial.